Welcome back to the deep dive. I am really excited about today's mission because this one is completely tailored for you, the learner, who sent us this incredible stack of source material.
Yeah, this is a great one.
This time we're stepping away from the usual, corporate briefings or geopolitical flashpoints. Our focus is much more personal, but it's also surprisingly structured. We are plunging into the alleged secret power of positive thinking.
And it's an excellent challenge for a deep dive because, like you said, this is a concept that gets dismissed a lot. People hear it and think, self-help fluff, superficial cheerfulness.
Right.
But the sources you provided are different. It's fascinating because they actually started from a discussion about overcoming psychological barriers in learning complex skills like English.
Exactly.
And they break this idea down into four really distinct, scalable levels of depth. It's not just one thing.
That structure is exactly why this dive is so necessary. It gives us a framework. We're going to move from what they call level B1, which is a simple, almost immediate mental trick.
A reframing technique.
Yes, a reframing technique all the way up through C1 and then to C2, which, well, it goes beyond cytology. It becomes a genuine life philosophy.
It really does. It's the difference between, say, a quick fix for a bad mood and a foundational change in your identity.
So what we're analyzing today isn't just a summary. We're looking at the architecture itself. We're using the source's own structure, those B1, B2, C1, C2 levels, to show exactly how this idea evolves.
Yeah, how it moves from a basic, almost reactive coping mechanism, which is what people usually criticize, to a really sophisticated proactive system for building what they call crisis-proof resilience.
So if you, our listener, have ever dismissed optimism as just putting on rose-tinted glasses, our mission today is to answer this core question. What is the real demonstrable difference between that shallow cheerfulness and the genuine transformative character-building optimism that these sources lay out? We really need to unpack the mechanism.
Absolutely. And to do that, we have to start small. We have to begin at the very bottom of the pyramid, the simplest instruction.
Okay, level B1. The sources set this up as the immediate fundamental choice. The core definition is so simple and direct.
It's surprisingly straightforward.
It just says positive thinking means consciously choosing a productive thought over a destructive one. That's it. It's that inner dialogue adjustment.
Right.
So instead of that automatic slide into, oh, this is too hard, I'll fail, I can't do this, you deliberately step in and say, okay, I'll try, I'll learn, I can do it.
And this right here highlights the first big insight of B1. It is purely about your internal perception. It has nothing to do with external reality.
Yes, the sources are so strict on this point. The problem itself, the difficult exam, the impossible deadline at work, even a sudden pipe bursting at home, that problem remains exactly the same.
The difficulty doesn't just magically disappear.
No, but the feeling about the problem changes instantly. And that's the whole point of the B1 switch. It's about managing your cognitive load.
How do you mean?
Well, one line of thought, negative one. It immediately triggers stress hormones, right? Avoidance, overwhelm. The other line of thought, the positive reframing, that activates approach motivation. It gives you a sense of, okay, I can handle this.
That internal shift is exactly why the sources lean so heavily on that heavy backpack analogy. It's just so visual. It makes immediate sense.
Let's really dive into that analogy because it's the cornerstone of this whole B1 level.
Yeah.
Imagine you have a physical burden, a backpack filled with heavy rocks, and you have to carry it for miles.
Okay.
Now, if your mental commentary the whole time is, this is agonizing, it's so heavy, I hate every second of this, the source argues that your perception of the weight actually increases.
Right. The mental resistance adds to the load. It becomes a real physical drag. Exhaustion sets in faster.
If, however, you flip that B1 switch and you internally reframe it, you say, okay, this isn't a burden, this is exercise, this is training, I'm getting stronger because of this, the physical weight is mathematically identical.
But the subjective load you experience, it goes down.
It diminishes. The mental friction is just gone, and it's replaced by a sense of purpose.
And this brings up a really crucial question, one I'm sure listeners are thinking. Doesn't that just feel like denial? Isn't there a risk of burnout if we're constantly telling ourselves a genuinely heavy burden is actually good for us?
That's a great challenge to it. And the source actually addresses that by showing the difference between B1 and the higher levels, like C2. B1 is not about denying that the bag is heavy.
Okay.
It's about minimizing the added weight of your own self-pity and complaining. The sources are clear.
Yeah.
If you're carrying an 80-pound bag and you complain about it, you're effectively carrying 100 pounds emotionally.
Ah, I see. So positive thinking at this level just means you're only carrying the necessary 80. You're not adding 20 pounds of your own negativity on top of it.
Exactly. So you're not ignoring the problem. You're just recognizing that the negative internal monologue is a second unnecessary problem that we inflict on ourselves.
It's all about focus management then.
Yes. The sources give that perfect example of the test scenario. You get a test back, you see one big glaring mistake, but you got 95% of the other questions right. Where does your energy go?
For most people, for the unpracticed mind, it rushes right to the flaw. The negative thinker fixates on that one mistake. I'm terrible at this. I'm a failure. I can't believe I missed that.
And they completely dismiss the vast majority of their success.
Right. But the B1 thinker, the one who's learned to flip that switch, they acknowledge the mistake. They're not in denial. They know they need to review that topic.
But their focus immediately goes to the 95% success. Wow, I mastered most of this. I got almost everything right. And now I know exactly what I need to polish.
And that tiny shift in perspective, that's the whole mechanism of level B1. It's training your brain moment by moment to look past the immediate problem and start scouting for solutions, or at least for evidence of your own competence.
This foundational stage is so critical because it introduces the idea of internal agency.
Yes, you can't control the weather, you can't control the test results, you can't control other people, but you can absolutely control the interpretation, the narrative you assign to those external facts.
And when your thoughts are consistently negative, your whole world feels heavy and dark.
But when you engage that positive switch, your world feels brighter, more navigable, even if, objectively, nothing has changed one bit.
It really sets the stage. B1 is that realization that your psychological reality is something you build yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can control that internal switch, then we've passed B1.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have to see what happens when that internal belief crashes into a sustained external reality. And this brings us to level B2, where the concept gets a lot more demanding.
Yeah, level B2 represents a really crucial evolution. It signals the shift from just managing your internal thoughts to connecting that positive thinking to external responsibility and to building daily habits.
This is where it gets real.
This is where positive thinking moves out of your head and into the concrete world of results.
And I think this is where a lot of popular self-help just falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
The sources make it so clear that if you stop at B1, if you only think good thoughts, but you don't back it up with action, that optimism very quickly becomes what they call empty promises.
And there's actual psychological harm in that. It's not neutral.
How so?
Well, when your positive belief isn't backed by your behavior, you're setting yourself up for something psychologists call false hope syndrome.
False hope syndrome.
You get that temporary motivational boost from B1, the excitement, the self-belief. It feels great. But when the external outcome inevitably fails because you didn't put in the work, the crash is so much harder.
And it just confirms your deepest negative belief, right? See, I knew I was incapable.
Exactly. In a devastating cycle. Believing you will pass an exam feels good for a moment, but if the books stay closed, that belief actively contributes to your failure and then to your despair. You end up feeling betrayed by your own optimism.
The examples the sources give they're brutally relatable. The person who keeps repeating, I will be healthy, I'm going to lose weight, that statement feels good. But if their lifestyle stays the same, if the only exercise they get is, like they say, walking to the fridge for a snack, then the optimism is just a self-deception tool. It's not a catalyst for change.
So the synthesis of level B2 is really powerful. Optimism must always walk hand in hand with action.
Hand in hand. I like that.
Optimism is the fuel tank that B1 filled up for you. It's the necessary energy and belief. But action is the engine that converts that potential energy into tangible, measurable results.
So with that execution, B1 optimism is literally a fantasy.
Just a fantasy. And to bridge that gap, the sources frame optimism not as some gift that lucky people have, but as a skill.
Yeah.
And a choice.
And if it's a skill, that means it requires practice, repetition.
Exactly. It's like a muscle. You have to consistently train it. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So how do we actually train it? What are the detailed habits the source recommends beyond just this general idea of go do it?
The focus is on small, consistent habits, things that reinforce a positive perspective. They talk about establishing a positive habit loop.
Okay, a habit loop.
For instance, they highlight routines designed to capture positive data points. The classic example is a gratitude practice. Every evening, you dedicate just a few minutes to writing down, or even just mentally listing 3 good things that happened that day.
And that's more than just being thankful, isn't it? It's like a deliberate cognitive search function.
That's a great way to put it.
by training yourself to look for the good things at the end of the day, you're actually forcing your brain throughout the day to tag positive events so you can recall them later. You're changing the default operating system of your brain.
Absolutely. It's a form of active cognitive restructuring. The sources also mention something called positive pre-commitment.
What's that?
It involves identifying a known trigger for a negative thought loop, the cue, and then predefining a positive action to take the routine.
So an example would be, if the cue is opening my inbox and seeing a complaint.
Right. The predefined routine might be, okay, I will take 3 deep breaths before I even read it, and then I will write down 3 non-emotional facts about the situation before I even think about replying.
I see the structure now. It transforms a passive emotional reaction into an active, deliberate habit.
Exactly.
So let's take a high-stress, real-world scenario. You've worked for weeks on big presentation. 5 minutes before you go on stage, the whole system crashes. Total tech failure.
Okay. The unpracticed mind just spirals. This is a disaster. My career's over. I look incompetent. Total panic.
But the B2 mind,
The B2 mind has trained the habit. It immediately shifts focus. The positive thought is accessible because it's been practiced. Okay, the system crashed. That is an external factor. It's outside my control. What's the silver lining here?
is there one?
Well, I now have a chance to show how calm I am under pressure. To show my quick thinking, I'll just present the key facts from memory.
And this connects directly to that idiom they bring up. Every cloud has a silver lining. At B1, that's just a cute idea. At B2, it's an actionable strategy.
Yes. The power is in the choice to actively search for that small benefit, that unexpected advantage, or even just the opportunity to demonstrate good character in a tough situation.
It's active interpretation, and it demands responsibility. B2 teaches you that you're not just a victim of circumstance. You are an active agent in shaping your response to it.
And if you practice B1 and B2 consistently, the thought switch and the positive habit loop, you develop a level of functioning that, frankly, most people don't achieve. But even that isn't enough when a true crisis hits.
No, because these habits are great for daily inconveniences. The missed bus, the spilled coffee, the tech glitch. But what happens when the floor just drops out from under you? Now we have to move up to level C1.
And this is a huge leap.
Level C1 is where we stop talking about inconvenience and start talking about pain. Real hardship, failure, trauma. This is the moment where life truly knocks us down, and just thinking happy thoughts is, well, it's insulting.
C1 is really the definition of maturity in positive thinking. It is emphatically not about maintaining a sunny disposition all the time. The key outcome here, the sources say, is resilience.
And their definition of resilience is so powerful. The ability to rise from setbacks, not with a smile painted on your face, which is superficial,
Right, which is fake.
but with strength carved into your character.
That phrase, strength carved into your character, that suggests a painful, formative process. This is not easy.
No. So what kind of adversity are we even talking about at this level?
We're talking about setbacks that genuinely threaten your identity, your stability. The sources talk about, say, failing a huge professional exam after 6 months of intense study,
Oh, that's devastating.
or pouring your life savings into a business only to watch it collapse because of market forces you can't control, or even the deep disappointment of trusting a close mentor who just completely lets you down.
These are the moments that invite that destructive thought. I should just quit. I'm fundamentally incapable. I'm a magnet for disaster.
And the core insight of C1 then is how the positive mindset completely rewrites the narrative of that failure. A negative mind sees failure as final. It generalizes that one setback into a life sentence of defeat.
The resilient C1 mind.
It sees failure as formative. The setback is no longer a dead end. It's analyzed as a necessary detour, a critical pivot point, or maybe a doorway to a much better unexpected opportunity.
It's that shift from this happened to me to this happened for my growth.
Precisely. This is the practical definition of grit, that famous saying, fall 7 times, stand up 8. It's not about avoiding the fall is going to happen.
Right.
It's about the immediate, unwavering commitment to that 8th stand, no matter how much it hurts.
And that commitment is totally dependent on your perspective.
Entirely. When an optimist faces a real storm, a financial crisis, a professional humiliation, a personal loss, they don't deny how bad it is. They feel the thunder, they see the rain, they acknowledge the darkness.
But the C1 skill is the ability to keep your eyes fixed on the horizon, with this deep conviction that the storm is temporary, it will pass.
That analogy they use is perfect for this. Negative thinking builds walls. Positive thinking builds bridges over the flood.
The negative thinker uses the crisis to justify hiding and retreating. The positive thinker uses the crisis as the very reason to find a new path forward.
And this leads to what I think is the most compelling piece of terminology in the entire source material. They say that resilient people don't just survive hardship, they metabolize it.
Let's break that down completely.
Yeah.
The metabolism analogy is such a powerful metaphor for what's happening internally.
Okay, so metabolism is a biological process, right? An organism takes in something external, food, water, and it digests it. It breaks it down, extracts the nutrients, the energy, the good stuff.
And then it converts the rest to waste.
Exactly. So applying this to C1, when a hardship hits, you have to digest the pain. You don't ignore it, you don't bottle it up, you confront the emotional reality of it.
Okay, so you feel it. Then you actively extract the meaning. The lesson learned, the mistake you won't make again, the new skill you had to acquire, the realization of who your true friends are.
All of that. And finally, you convert that extracted knowledge into fuel for your future growth. The part of the pain that's useless, the self-pity, the resentment, the guilt that serves no purpose, that gets metabolized into waste and discarded.
And what's left is a net gain in wisdom and strength. This is how tragedy is transformed into triumph.
It's the mechanism.
I have to push back a bit here, though. The source makes this process sound almost efficient. But assigning meaning to a real tragedy can take months, sometimes years. It often requires professional help. Does the source acknowledge the sheer emotional labor and time involved?
It does, but implicitly. It frames C1 as preparation. It's not a switch you just flip in the moment of crisis. It's a framework you adopt during the suffering that then guides your recovery over time.
Okay.
And the difference is entirely in the framing of the pain itself.
Right. Explain that critical contrast again. The idea of viewing a crisis as punishment versus viewing it as preparation.
Okay, so if you interpret a major setback, let's say a huge financial loss as punishment, you immediately retreat. You feel like you've been unjustly targeted by the world. You question your self-worth. You adopt a victim mindset.
And that just halts all forward progress. Your focus is entirely backward-looking. Why me? Why did this happen to me?
Exactly. But if you view the exact same loss as preparation,
then the question shifts.
the question shifts entirely. The focus becomes forward-looking. What skill did I just gain from this? What did this teach me about risk, about my partners, about my own limits? How has this struggle equipped me for the next, maybe bigger, opportunity?
Wow. That one cognitive shift changes the entire trajectory of your recovery. It transforms a debilitating event into a mandatory, rigorous training session.
It is profound. It means two people can face the exact same life-altering crisis, say, a massive health scare. One person uses that experience to justify a lifetime of fear and playing small. The other uses it to forge a renewed commitment to health, to relationships, to purpose.
And the difference isn't the event. It's the trained C1 mindset.
That C1 mindset is trainable resilience. It's the ability to derive strength directly from failure, a process that requires immense psychological rigor. It moves beyond just coping and into true character building.
And yet there's still one final level of depth to get to.
The final level, C2.
Now we arrive at level C2. The sources call this the ultimate test. We've gone past daily habits in B2, past crisis resilience in C1, and now we're engaging with existential philosophy.
Really are.
This level forces us to think about how positive thinking shapes our identity, how it defines meaning, and what it even means to live a life well lived.
This is where we have to confront that great paradox the source material brings up. If positivity is simplified down to just mere cheerfulness, it becomes spiritually and psychologically bankrupt.
It's a cheap comfort.
It's a cheap comfort that just crumbles the second it's faced with genuine, unavoidable human suffering.
The sources make a really sharp distinction here. True C2 positivity is not blind denial of pain. It's defined as the art of transmuting adversity into meaning.
It's like an inner alchemy. You take the raw, painful elements of life and you refine them into something lasting.
It's no longer a coping mechanism or a recovery skill. It becomes an inner discipline, a deliberate, sustained act of existential reframing.
And that frame goes so much deeper than just finding a solution to a problem. It asks the question, what profound, lasting significance can I assign to this difficulty that will shape my entire future story, my entire worldview?
This is where the practical examples start to become these deep metaphors, like the one about the waves. We've all heard it before.
Yeah.
You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. But what does that really mean at the C2 level?
The deeper meaning is the acceptance that life's turbulence, loss, disappointment, our own mortality, it's all completely inevitable. It's non-negotiable. No amount of positive thinking is going to stop the waves from coming. So the choice is purely internal. Are we going to thrash around helplessly, consumed by the chaos and the injustice of it all? Or are we going to seek the point of balance within the chaos? Are we going to master our internal response so we can move with the flow of life rather than fighting it?
The goal shifts from controlling the environment to mastering yourself.
And that mastery is directly connected to our need for purpose.
Yes. The source material here draws on that core philosophical idea, one you associate with thinkers like Viktor Frankl. The idea that suffering stripped of meaning is psychologically unbearable.
Unnecessary pain is just anguish. But suffering with a why, that becomes endurable, because the mind can transform that anguish into growth by actively attaching it to a higher purpose or a commitment or a legacy.
Can you give us an example of how that connection shows up in real life?
Sure. Consider a person who dedicates years of their life to caring for a loved one with a degenerative illness. The suffering is immense, the exhaustion, the heartbreak, the financial strain.
Unbearable for many.
And if that person just views it as a horrible accident of fate, the experience could very well destroy them. But the C2 mindset transmutes that suffering into meaning. They might say, this pain has forged in me a level of patience, of empathy, of unconditional love I never knew I had. I am now defined not by what I lost, but by the love I chose to give during the hardest time imaginable.
So the profound truth of C2 then is that positive thinking is not about predicting that the sun will always be shining.
Not at all.
It's about cultivating this deep, unwavering conviction that even the darkest nights contain constellations. Even within despair, there is structure, there's meaning, there's a purpose that can only be revealed by that level of darkness.
And this completely redefines the relationship between hope and despair. They're not seen as opposites fighting each other anymore.
So what are they?
In the C2 context, they are partners in shaping depth of character. Think about it. If you live a life that's shielded from all despair, your hope is fragile. It's maybe even naive.
The struggle, the despair, is what enriches the victory. It gives hope, its weight, its gravity. It lets you appreciate the light because you truly know the texture of the dark.
Exactly. And this whole intellectual journey culminates in that final, beautiful metaphor the source provides. Life as a tapestry. This is the ultimate visual for C2. It suggests that everything, joy, sorrow, failure, triumph, they are all just threads.
The tapestry image is so powerful because it deals with the complexity of it all. If you just isolate the darker strands, the threads of grief, failure, betrayal, they look ugly, they look painful, they seem unnecessary when you look at them up close.
And a person could obsess over those dark threads, right? Wishing they could just cut them out of their life entirely.
But the C2 perspective demands that you step back and you look at the whole cloth. And when those darker strands are woven together with intention, they provide the contrast, the shading, the definition.
They create a complex, rich pattern. A life that's made up only of light, bright threads would be flat. It would be superficial, one-dimensional.
The integration of the dark with the light, it creates something far more valuable, more profound, and more beautiful than perfection alone could ever offer.
It's the highest form of self-authorship. It means realizing that every single event, even the most painful ones, is a critical part of your unique, compelling story. C2 is the definition of a life lived by purpose, where adversity only serves to deepen that meaning rather than destroy it.
So let's quickly review this whole progression, all 4 levels, just to solidify the architecture for you, the learner.
Okay, a quick synthesis. We began at the entry level, B1, the foundation.
That was the small switch in your head, the simple choice of thought that changes your internal feeling, making that heavy backpack feel lighter without actually changing its weight.
Then we moved up to B2. Optimism meets action. This is where your positive thought has to combine with real action and daily habit. Optimism has to walk hand in hand with responsibility.
Right, turning that mental energy into actual results so you don't fall into the trap of empty promises.
Then we scaled up to C1, resilience. This level is about using true crisis and hardship to build profound, lasting character. Here, you learn to metabolize hardship.
You reframe failure. It's not punishment anymore. It's necessary preparation for your next stage of growth.
And finally, we reach the apex, C2, philosophy. This is the ultimate discipline of assigning deep meaning and existential purpose to suffering.
Cultivating that conviction that even the darkest threads are essential to the rich, enduring tapestry of a meaningful life.
So what does this whole framework mean for you for practical application? It's not just an academic exercise. The sources are so consistent on this point. The ultimate secret is not to just wait or hope or passively believe that better days are going to magically appear.
The secret is agency. The secret is that you have to actively build those better days. You construct your reality, thread by thread, thought by thought, action by action, meaning by meaning.
This whole framework just fundamentally shifts your focus from external circumstances, what happened to you, to your internal agency, what you choose to do with what happened.
It provides a structure for the chaos of being human. It validates how hard life is, but at the same time, it gives you a rigorous four-stage path toward mastering it.
And, we concluded that C2 discussion with the powerful analogy of the tapestry, and that really brings us to a final provocative thought for you to carry forward from this dive.
Okay.
The challenge this framework presents isn't just to survive your next setback. It's to actively create. You have to reflect on what type of legacy, what type of pattern you are truly prioritizing in your own life.
Are you spending your energy chasing what the sources call the glittering illusions?
Mm.
The applause, the momentary fame, the fleeting, comfortable distractions that are always on offer?
Or are you focused on the harder, more rigorous C2 work? The internal discipline of weaving something enduring? A narrative of resilience, a depth of character, a life defined ultimately by the meaning you assign to your circumstances rather than by the circumstances themselves?
That choice of focus, the sources argue, is the true hidden power of positive thinking.
It is.
A compelling choice. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today.
And thank you for providing such a structured and, I think, really necessary analysis of a topic that's so often misunderstood.
We encourage you, the listener, to think about which of these four levels, B1, B2, C1, or C2, feels most challenging for you to apply in your own life right now. Identify that struggle because that's precisely where your work begins. Keep practicing, keep building that mindset, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.